Hello there, this is Charlie and you're listening to the Test.io Open Mic Podcast, a podcast created by testers for testers. In the previous episodes of this miniseries, Work Smarter, Not Harder, Markus and I talked about how to choose the most promising test and read instructions to comprehend what is needed and what is not, from a really helpful checklist to help you pick the right test, the easy ones, to clearly see if the test you have picked is for you or not.
So what I want to point out is this is not just about reading, it's about comprehension of what you're reading. We usually just talk about testers, please read the instructions and all the information we provide to you, but it's really more than that, right? Comprehension here means attentively reading, trying to understand it and interpreting it, and also integrating what you read with what you already know. I think this is quite important. So every tester has their background, has gone through the onboarding, has different experiences from previous tests, knows the rules as always. And comprehension here means combining what you know from the given rules with what you're reading in the test instructions.
Hello Markus, how's life?
Hi Charlie, nice to be back.
Thank you. So continuing this mini-series, today what would be the subject about?
Yeah, so today I think we should talk about the testing strategies and what kind of person you are. So basing that strategy a little bit on the type of person and to be the most productive in the test you selected and to use your time wisely.
And how is that about a type of person? Intrigued.
Yeah, I think we all need to think about ourselves and what type of person we are. So if you are a tester, you should think about, are you more of a person who likes to follow directions that you are given by somebody? So then I guess test cases, reproductions, bug confirmations, such type of work is for you because it's predictable. It has certain boundaries, you know how much time you will approximately spend on these tasks, and it is quite risk-free, kind of. While on the other hand, you may be a person who does not like such type of work at all. I have met a lot of testers like this before, and these testers were more creative, were curious about products, were risk takers basically. So those people are more suitable for exploratory testing, in my opinion.
They are, yes.
And there's something in between, I would say. So as you know, we have user stories in exploratory tests, and I think that's something in between. You are given somewhat of a direction what you're supposed to confirm or test, but it is quite specific. Just the way how you get there is maybe not quite described. And so I would say that is something between a person who likes to follow directions, so very specific instructions, and a person who likes to have all the freedom and test exploratively.
Very interesting.
Yeah, Charlie, what type of person are you? Where would you see yourself?
I was thinking about it. Well, I think I was always very systematic. But then I realized that for exploratory testing, you need to be more free to explore, to be an explorer. And I think that right now, I think I'm like something in the middle.
Okay. Do you do something to practice one or the other side of it?
Yes, because I'm from sociology. I was my career. I'm a formal researcher, so we follow the scientific method. So I was always doing like that when I was testing, and I was not way to do it. I thought that. So, and I was always doing those kind of things. So I started taking back things in my life that were when I was younger, like drawing, playing instruments, those kind of things, and they helped me a lot to grow on that side of the explorer and to see things differently. In fact, I remember some testers sharing drawings, and those testers, I remember their reports, and they were catching bugs, reporting bugs that were very unique during that test cycle.
Yeah, so I think there are ways to practice both sides, and over time you will get just better in exploratory testing that way.
But wait, which kind of person you are?
I would consider myself to be a person who's very structured, who tries to understand concepts and make sense of the world. So I also would count myself to be more systematic here. But I also played the drums in the past, and I try to activate my creative side of the brain regularly. And also, I think you can connect both, maybe. So you can be systematic, but still like exploratory testing by just finding a system, right? Making a system for yourself that you use, and then that's what your way of testing. But you remain open to new features and new to ways of testing and so on.
Agreed. Yes.
So talking about exploratory testing, let me maybe make one point. So I think a lot of new testers in the beginning, they do some random testing, what I would call it. And so they would go to a website that they're supposed to test, and they, well, more or less click around, try to interact with the customer product, with the website, to find some flaws. And that approach is, of course, natural, but it is not leading to success, in my opinion. Because random testing means you basically have no expectations. And having expectations is exactly what you need when you're testing, right? So you need to make up your mind, how is something meant to work? And then you have an expectation, and then you can check if your expectation is met. If you just randomly click on things, that will not lead to success a lot of times, unless the app is crashing and it's very obvious. But these obvious flaws are usually already recognized by the internal development team or the QA team of the company. So that's what we are here for, right? To find a little bit more hidden bugs that the internal QA teams didn't find.
Exactly.
So the way to go, in my opinion, is systematic testing, as we mentioned before. And that means that you build a strategy that doesn't have to be a conscious decision. If you're an experienced tester, you will recognize that you have some kind of pattern how you approach testing a website or an app. Everyone has such a pattern if they had made some experience. And what helps to become even more productive is becoming aware of this pattern, thinking about how you approach a testing task, writing it down, and then trying to optimize it. What part of your pattern leads to success? What usually doesn't? Do you want to adjust the order of these of your approach? And yeah, becoming aware of it is one key to improve it.
It is.
So Charlie, how do you approach a test? What do you think is important here?
Well, I was thinking that expectations, and that with experience, you definitely build up a pattern, a method, a way to test. Because I'm still testing sometimes, for Bug or Not quiz, our activity on Discord, and for the things we need. And every time I go to a new website, a new digital product, as soon as I found something that is worth it, I understand. In my mind, immediately is telling me, hey Charlie, this is the future product detail page, or you are starting the checkout process. So I think once I understood to identify a product feature, that was the game changer when I was testing. And I think that expectation leads to that understanding features on products, identifying them properly.
Very interesting. Yeah, and it also lets you adhere to the test scope actually, because you are aware, hey, this is the card. Is the card in scope? This is the checkout. Is the checkout in scope? Am I allowed to submit orders or not? So yeah, brilliant approach, Charlie, I have to say.
Well, thank you. But it was a lot of, trying and getting rejections, reading team leaders, asking team leaders. You know how it is.
Yes, that's true. So one of maybe my best tips I can give to testers is you test features in combination with each other. You may have read that in some Academy article already, but it might not be very understandable to you. So let me explain a little bit what I mean by this.
Brilliant.
If you test each feature just by itself, then you of course test the feature, and if the feature breaks, you found a bug. Again, the QA team probably checked the feature itself already, or maybe they pushed an update and now the feature is broken, so that's where you might be successful if you just tested the feature. But if you test the feature in combination with other features, that's what usually is not thoroughly tested by QA teams. For different reasons. First of all, QA teams need to think of the various scenarios that can come up. So if they didn't think of one scenario, and so they couldn't test it, obviously, and you test it, and then you can find a bug, right? So the sheer number of different scenarios and combinations is usually not tested so thoroughly. Yeah, so let me maybe tell you a story. And maybe a good example. So imagine you are testing an app on your smartphone, and this app is a tutoring app, so where a tutor and a student can be brought together, and you can have discussions, and the tutor teaches stuff to the student. So the app in the profile section offers a feature to delete your tutor account, for example. And if you just test that delete functionality, you might see, okay, it works. You are brought back to the initial page when you launch the app. Your account is indeed gone, and everything worked. So nice, because obviously this was tested by the QA team or by other testers on our platform before. But what maybe hasn't been tested is, you deleted your account, but what actually happened with your posts that you made as a tutor in the app? So you sign up again, or you sign in as a student, you check the forum, or you check the wall where a tutor, this deleted tutor, left some messages, and you now want to check, how does the app handle it? Does the app show a proper tutor name? Does it show nothing? And when you click on the tutor profile picture, what do you see? Do you see a profile? Actually, you shouldn't be able to see a profile because the tutor doesn't exist anymore. So maybe by clicking on the tutor image, profile image, the app crashes because the app did not consider this case that the tutor does not exist any longer. So suddenly you found a crash because the app was not prepared for that. And you only found it because you made up a scenario in your head, and you thought of something that maybe they haven't thought about. And so just again, testing the deletion functionality itself may not give you any bug, but in combination with already submitted content or other functionalities or the other role as a student, exploring that role, you will suddenly find bugs. So you need to make up these scenarios and think of scenarios that they may have not thought about. That would be, I think, the story I can think of.
Yeah, this is a really nice example of how setting up expectations on a product,
right?
A digital product.
Yeah, and imagine in this very scenario, you already tested, making a post on a wall, interaction between the tutor and the student, and everything worked because that's core functionality. Of course, they tested it before, right? But remember the scenario I just told you about. In this specific scenario, suddenly everything breaks, maybe. And so you need to make these scenarios. I think I hope this helps.
Yeah, it helps a lot because normally I think there are like two levels. Like one is the happy path, all way, like all through the website, and the other is the edge case. And there is no, there are not connection in between the processes and the features and what users can do and have done on a product. It's a nice example. I really like it.
And you make a good point about edge cases. I think maybe the developer or the product manager might think of the deletion functionality as an edge case functionality, maybe something that is not used on an everyday basis, and maybe they're right, but it will be used. And what are the consequences when it's used? I think those are still important. So this kind of edge case becomes relevant in this context.
Exactly. In this context, it is very relevant.
So maybe my last tip for today would be, a product provides a lot of different functionality. There is front-end functionality, there is back-end functionality, there is very simple logics implemented, there are complex logics implemented. And from my experience, I would always go for features that must have complex logic in them. Or a little bit more complex logic at least, because those features, again, may have been tested, but maybe not so thoroughly to cover all the possible cases. So let me make you a quick example here. Web shops have a lot of more simplistic functionality, I would say. But let's imagine that web shop you're testing has a wish list. Of course, not all web shops have this functionality, but so this web shop has a cart and a wish list, and you can push items that are on your wish list to the cart and vice versa. So from the cart back to the wish list. Now, I like this example because you need special functionality to deal with this situation when you added a product yourself through the product detail page to the cart, plus another item that you brought to the cart via the wish list. So it's basically two different channels, and and both products end up in the cart. But how does the cart deal with it? Does it display the products properly? Does it merge the products properly? So maybe they're not merged because they come from different channels. Or maybe if you have it in the wish list, an item in the wish list first, you push it to the cart and back and forth a few times, maybe then it breaks. So again, that includes a little bit more complex logic, and you might find something here.
Absolutely. I actually like that implementation, to test that implementation in particular.
Right. And imagine you're a new tester. Maybe you would only test each feature once by itself. You would add a product to the wish list. Well, that looks fine. Nothing broke. You do the same for the cart, and you think, okay, everything is running perfectly fine here. But then only interaction between these two features. Then using different channels to add items to the cart. Those things, that thoroughness that you need to apply here, that leads to success.
Well, wonderful examples for today, Markus.
Yeah, I hope they help.
Definitely.
So I wish we would all become masters overnight by just practicing it once or twice. Unfortunately, that's not reality, not in anything we do. Exactly. And so, again, a tip might be here, guys, you need to practice it. You will not be masters when you start out as exploratory testers. And let me also point out that even professional testers from big companies, they are used to testing plans and that they get instructions what they need to do. So even professionals who have practiced it for years sometimes struggle with exploratory testing. So let me tell you, this is clear that you will not be performing perfect in the very beginning. It all comes with experience, having seen different customer products, different test types, different websites, different apps, and therefore please just practice it and you will become better over time. Again, you will build a pattern, and yeah, at some point it will be a much easier task for you to accomplish.
It would be indeed, and it would be indeed. Thank you for sharing all this wisdom and practical advice with our testers and audience, Markus. I'm sure they are already getting benefits after two episodes already.
3 by now already.
Yeah. Thank you all for listening to the Test.io Open Mic podcast. If you want to know more about us, what we do, how we do it, and build a QA testing career in the IT industry from scratch, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to listen to our private podcast, please join our Discord community directly from your tester account. Take care, stay safe, and stay tuned. Cheers.